Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me here. My name is Akash Agarwal, and I work with EC Council as its regional director. I'm responsible for its overall business in EMEA region and for e-learning business across the globe. At the outset, I would like to congratulate Dr. Baha, Mr. Ahmed, and Dr. Jahan and the entire team at Arab Security Consultants for organizing this wonderful conference, and want to thank them for organizing this conference that not only fulfills the needs of the region but also is a guiding light for many professionals around the world. In my 20 minutes or so session, I'm going to speak about a topic that's very close to my heart. Through this, my team has been practicing it for the several years and has been able to build a capacity to train more than 500,000 people in a year in the information security space. Yes, I'm talking about creating a capacity of 500,000 capacity to train 500,000 people in a year in the field of information security. And this is just via instructor led physical training. Beyond this, we've also been able to create capacity to train almost infinite number of people through our e-learning platforms, both synchronous as well as asynchronous. So overall, practicing this, we've been able to generate record number of information security professionals that are so much needed in this field. With this, we've also addressed affordability as well as the reach. That is, we've been able to create footprints in the farthest corners of the regions we've addressed. We've made it easy for the pockets of people in different parts of the world, and we've made it easy to reach out to these programs whenever and wherever required. An enterprise of today, whether we talk about government or public or private, needs competent professionals in different relevant fields of information security. And they all need to be practicing professionals, not just talking about it, but they must be professionals who are working hands-on on it. Today, in my next 15 to 20 minutes, you would see how EC Council has been able to build capacity and create awareness by having its footprints that reaches the last mile guy. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to my session on Cyber Wellness Center, empowering enterprise to stay ahead of cyber threats. Let us look at the looming threats due to cyber to the industry at large. Ian Levy, director of NCSE, observed that people cannot be the weakest link in the system. Now, this is very, very contrary to the popular belief that people are the weakest link. We've been talking about it for almost more than a couple of decades. He says that it is these people that create value at these organizations. How could they be the weakest link? This implies that systems created were not for the people. They were for techies and not for the normal people like you and I. It is time that we prepare our people, those normal people, to be able to have a say in this designing, development, and execution of the system, or in other words, to have a say in the system, and henceforth have the systems that makes it more difficult for the hackers to walk in or attack our information assets. And let's do it before the world gets its first category 1 cyber incident where the entire nation gets affected. But what's happening and why is this happening? The number of computing devices in our hands is increasing. It's just been a few years when I used to have just one desktop with me. It then transformed into a laptop. They gave me an iPad. They gave me a mobile phone. They gave me a watch. And this thing is increasing. Statistically speaking, today each person on this planet has one device, which means if there are 7 billion people on this earth, there are 7 billion people or 7 billion devices there. However, it has been said in next 3 to 4 years, there would be 5 devices per person statistically. That is, there would be 40 billion devices on this planet, approximately. And you know what? On top of it, all of them would be connected to each other. There would be more data flowing across these devices. And this would be at an internet speed that we may not be able to think today. In other words, it's going to become more and more and more complex. As the world becomes more complex, it'll be very difficult for the information security professionals of today to keep the bad guys out of the reach of their information assets. This is evident already in the increasing intensity as well as frequency of attacks on the information assets of the enterprise. There are already challenges which are difficult to detect, the compliance related challenges, and so on. And it is not restricted to one industry, be it healthcare, talk about education, talk about retail, financial, hospitality, and whether in private or government space, there's been a growth of whopping 86% in the records, the identity stolen or lost. We spoke about the normal people, and here you see normal people are being hacked. Their identity, the identity theft has been at the all-time high. They've been losing their data, their information, their identity, the personal PII or personally identifiable information lost is at all-time high. So much so that 50% of the total incidents reported were of the identity theft. And imagine what would happen with the increasing number of devices when there would be 5 times, when they would be 5 times what they are today. Can you keep yourself away from knowing about cybersecurity? That's the big time question that we must ask each other. And when we talk about this, this conference has been talking about enterprise-wide risk management. Today, organizations have realized that they have to do enterprise-wide risk management, and we've debated a lot during the course of this conference. This would include, among other things, like operational, legal, and technical expertise, training to the normal person or to the user of an IT asset in that organization. According to the report from Ernst & Young, 67% of banks and 82% of insurance companies, it's just one or two of the industries I have picked up here, state that the most significant source of attack is from the careless employees. So they say the training should be tailored to the role. The training should be tailored to the role and applied broadly. But how's that possible? Let's find out the solution. Now, when we talk about tailoring the training to the role and to be applied broadly, we talk about all personnel, whether we and this will include the third-party contractors and interns and everyone. Let's look at the solution. How is that possible? That's what is the topic of my presentation today. The answer lies in Cyber Wellness Center. It's an EC Council initiative, which is a 5-step process I'm going to show you today. The mission behind this Cyber Wellness Center is to build capacity, to make sure the awareness is strengthened, and make sure the last mile guy is approached by creating the footprints all around the globe. With these 3 mission statements, we will go to Cyber Wellness Center, which essentially addresses the need of the growing concerns of the security and cyber threats within the enterprise. The 5 steps, as is depicted here, are awareness, pre-assessment, training, post-assessment, and certification. Organizations today are setting up CWCs, as you would see shortly, in their premises and are ensuring that people are taking the benefit of the same. Now let's go dig a bit deeper into what Cyber Wellness Center is all about. We talk about the awareness. This is one of the most important things in making sure that people are aware of what the cyber insecurities are, what are the looming dangers of them. Now, when we reach out to them, I still remember 5 years back when I joined EC Council and went out to meet those enterprises in both government as well as public space. I saw that cybersecurity was still a buzzword, and it still is in some of the cases, especially among those users who are, as I defined earlier, normal people. So we have to reach out to them by creating those events and engagements, and maybe through social media as well. This conference, as I mentioned initially, I thank Dr. Baha and his entire organization to have organized this, which actually helps in creating that awareness. Now, when the awareness is there, we ask people to come in and appear in the pre-assessment. So a CWC or a Cyber Wellness Center is set up. We are going to check their cyber quotient, cyber security quotient, by inviting them to the CWC center. And out there, they would undergo a pre-assessment depending on the how do they use cyber, how do they use information, or what role they are into in their respective organizations. The result of the pre-assessment then is taken into consideration for tailor-making the training that would be designed specifically for that purpose, for that person. And in that, the training would be given. It will be a performance-based learning, which could be of 4 days, 5 days, depending on what kind of training the person is going to undergo. Then a core concept would be trained via live instructor experience. There would be a whole lot of professional way of training that would be given to the person, whether through instructor-led or the video classes and so on. Now, once the training is over, it is important that the person is able to revise what he or she studied during the training. And that happens with the help of EC Council's Cyber Range, which is available anywhere and anytime. It is 24/7 hands-on learning that reinforces the training that a person has undergone during the performance-based learning that he has. Once the training is done, this person then goes on to the post-assessment. Now, look at it, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are talking about a person who's being tested first, assessed on his cybersecurity quotient, then is being trained based on the outcome of the assessment, and then once he's being trained, is doing a post-assessment. So he will find a delta change in the cybersecurity quotient that the person would be going into. And depending on the role that person is, there would be other modes of continuous training that would happen. We've devised for a particular section of people the gamification way, where we do the capture the flag or hackathon and so on, so that the interest keeps going on. Excuse me. So overall, when we look at Cyber Wellness Center, right from creating the awareness to the certification, it covers it all. And it is important that these cyber wellness centers are there in the premises of that enterprise. A typical cyber wellness center, one of the universities that we established, is visible here. So this is how we establish cyber wellness centers in each enterprise. Make sure that each person, right from the CEO to the lowest level employee in that organization, whether temporary or permanent or on contract, are all being exposed to Cyber Wellness Center. They must all be trained while they're using any kind of information asset inside the enterprise or for enterprise. Let's go in and take some examples. So I hope this explains what Cyber Wellness Center is. And you know what? We've done it already in many regions, especially in the 22 countries, GCC countries, we did it. These were some of the organizations who participated in it in Doha very, very recently. I must say, this is just a beginning. We are talking about the governments, we are talking about enterprise, we're talking about large training players, we're talking about universities. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a humble beginning of something which is going to create a revolution in the world of cybersecurity, because this is addressing the normal people. This is going to ensure that every person who's using an information asset is well trained. The information assets are being made for the people and not just for the techies. This way, we will ensure that those bad guys out there who are trying to enter your enterprise will find it tough and tougher to enter into your system and create any havoc. So, with this, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you once again for being a patient listener, and I congratulate each one of you for a successful conference. Thank you very much.